Hi, welcome to Waylo's Workshop. I'm Waylo, and if we're looking and sounding better, that's as a result of our brand new camcorder. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you better quality videos, better sounding videos as well. This episode is our final installment of our X-Wing Starfighter. This is a kit produced by Bandy in 1/72nd scale. I have built mine up to resemble Red 5, which is why this series is called Red 5. Red 5, as you recall, is Luke's X-Wing. As you can see inside the cockpit there, we have Luke. And his droid, of course, is R2-D2. I want to show you just how much detail is going on here. This is 1/72nd scale, and I'm going to show you just how small R2 is in a moment. The kit comes with two versions of the pilot. One is sitting, one is standing, and then two droid build-up options, and they give you two bodies for it, and I'm going to do both as R2. One I'm going to leave here on my workbench because he's so small. This one in particular, though, I'm kind of proud of because it is the smallest thing I've ever hand painted, and I think he came out really awesome. I think it looks really good in the back there. In fact, this entire kit, even though it's a snap kit, I'm very happy with the way it turned out. It is the largest kit by piece count I've built so far since returning to modeling. I believe this is the third model kit I've put together since I began the channel. Unfortunately, for those of you who've been watching my YouTube channel, I'm sorry to say I got swallowed up in Star Wars fever. As you recall, we were in the middle of M4, which is Mars Martian Marathon Madness, and we had already unboxed the All Quiet on the Martian Front gaming system. We were in the process of doing the unboxing on the Pegasus models, the Martian, as well as Pegasus models, the War Machine, which are based on George Powell's film War of the Worlds. So we kind of had a theme going. So the minis, the figure, and the model for the Martian Madness was going to be all related to War of the Worlds. And I'm over on the International Scale Modelers website. I see this kit reviewed, which I'll get to why I wanted this kit in a minute. And then Kiwi Gav had an ongoing SIG, which is a special interest group build, for Star Wars, with an ending date, of course, of the date of the release of Episode 7. So I couldn't resist. So I ordered the kit from HobbyLink Japan. This kit is produced in Japan, and the instructions are in Japanese. So while by picture it's easy enough to follow along to build up, and it is again a snap kit, which is the largest snap kit I've ever seen. Snap kits when I was a kid were like 3 and 4 pieces. This has got far more pieces than that, and it's actually really well done. I mean, it fit together beautifully. It is not like the kits of old where you were trying to force things together with clamps and holding things together with rubber bands and gap filling and just being a nightmare. This actually went together really, really, really nicely. So as far as Bandy goes, this is an excellent kit and I recommend it. But what wound up happening was I got the kit. I did a preview video, the unboxing of the kit, and had all plans of just building it along with everything else I was doing for the channel. And of course, it got very busy where I work. I work in air cargo at O'Hare Airport in the largest warehousing operation at O'Hare. We're almost 500,000 square feet of warehousing space. So it's a big place to keep control of. And we just got so busy I had really no time to do anything. and unfortunately the channel suffered as a result of it. And again, this is a hobby for me, so I do what I do in my spare time. I'm trying to chronicle each of the things that I do as I go and load it up to YouTube, because a lot of places are, a lot of hobby stores, gaming stores are starting to disappear, and I really enjoy these hobbies. I really like them. For me, my favorite part is the painting portion of this. Not so much the build-up as it is the weathering and making it look like the real starship or the real tank or the real car. So that's the fun part for me in this. And seeing so many places just disappearing, going out of business, probably mainly because of being able to buy online at a much cheaper rate. The storefronts just can't hold the merchandise, or people don't want to pay to keep the store alive, basically. So with that, we're seeing the art of this being lost, because to me this is an art. I can remember seeing a ship just like this hanging in a store called Des Plaines Hobby in Des Plaines, Illinois. In high school, my parents moved out from Chicago out into the suburbs, and this was one of the places that we enjoyed going. Had gaming supplies, modeling supplies, model railroading. So it was kind of a big hangout for us as kids, and I had seen a ship like this. They had painted up real well, weathered it. It just looked spectacular, and it was hanging from fish line from the ceiling, along with Vader's ship. And one's looking like it's pursuing the other, and I thought it was spectacular back then. So I really wanted a version of this ship that was small enough where I could actually hang it from the ceiling and it wouldn't be overpowering the room. I'm going to do Bandy makes Vader ship as well, so I'm going to do that also, and hopefully hang them just the way I'd seen in that hobby store when I was a kid. Ironically, that store still exists. I went to Des Plaines and found that the store had moved to this location. It actually expanded in size, surprisingly enough. Model railroading here in Illinois is very popular. So the store is pretty much dominated by model railroading, but they still carry a lot of the models, a lot of the modeling supplies, and I was just happy to see it was still around after all these years, because it had been 40 years since I wandered around in those stores, and seeing one still survived and it was still owned by the same family was quite a phenomenon. So that for me was my reason for wanting that kit, for me jumping in and building it. So I do apologize to everybody who was watching the channel and who was looking forward to our Martian mayhem. That being said, a little bit more about the kit. So first of all, the colors that I chose, and we'll go through all the colors I've used, the techniques I used in order to achieve the effect that I've got here. And I did darken the weathering a little bit more because I am planning on hanging it from the ceiling. So from a distance, it's got to look a little bit more weathered, so I overpowered it a little, knowing that I'm not going to be looking at it close up like it's sitting on a shelf, but actually from a distance. So that's something else to take into consideration when you're doing things like this. One of the first things you want to think about as you're planning the painting version, once you've got it built, how you're going to weather it, what you're going to weather it with, but also how you're going to display it, because that's a big piece of how close are people going to be looking at it? How far away is it going to be? Are the things that you want to see stand out going to stand out well? So, but as far as it goes, the paint that I used for the color of the ship itself, it's kind of an off-white. I actually mixed those colors, and I'll explain them to you as we go. The only decals that I used on the ship were the ones on the wings, the red 5 here logo. The rest of what's here is all painted in by me. I thought that would be much easier. The red here came as part of the ship. a few of the tiles here, a few of the pieces interlock, and actually it came as red. But the rest of it, I actually went ahead and painted and did up myself. I left this open so that I could lift this, and you could actually see, you know, the decals on his helmet and the detail that I put in the cockpit there. As far as the rest of it goes, I clear coated it and gave it a good oil wash. I used some off black oil. I didn't get to detail it to the extent that I wanted, unfortunately, because again, I was in a hurry. My goal became just to finish by the date of the release of the film. So again, and then here, I'm sorry, I also did use these as decals as well. I did not paint those in. Everything on the body of the ship I painted. I had planned on doing a bit more weathering, but again, I'm going to hang this, so a lot of the detail, you know, I'm going to try to cock it in sort of a swooping fashion along with Vader's ship and just kind of hang them that way. I'm going to have to glue this down, obviously. But again, for me, that's, you know, it just represented something of my childhood. So that's why I jumped into it. And like everybody else in the country, like I said, I got Star Wars fever just like everyone else. In fact, if you take a quick look here, I'll show you this. That's my that's my new coffee mug for my coffee mug collection. That's you know, good old R2 right there. I probably should have jumped and got a BB-8, but I didn't. I stuck with the traditional R2. He is my favorite character from the Star Wars series. I think he's quite hilarious at times. So yeah, and I saw this and it was on sale, and I thought, you know what, I should have a Star Wars mug. So there you go. So okay, that being said, I'll go ahead and go through the paints, the colors, the entire process. Unfortunately, I did not film this because, again, it was a race speed to get this done. So the next one I do, the next model I do, I'll take it through step by step and video it along with the new camera I've got here. Hopefully we're looking at sounding much better. So give me a minute and we'll start going through some of the supplies, paints, and what airbrush I used, what primer I used. We'll go through all of it. So stay tuned. Okay, so this is a snap together kit as we discussed, but we did go ahead, as I built it up, I did glue it all together, and what I used was Tamiya's ultra thin cement. I love this stuff. The applicator on it is awesome. It's so much easier to use than the old tube glue when I was a kid. So I highly recommend this stuff. If you don't use it, you should grab a bottle of it. It's spectacular for putting together models. In fact, you can almost seal with this. I didn't have to do any filling. I actually filled the seams in with this cement. So as I glued it up, I just went around the outside edges and filled the seams. If you go back and look at the other videos, you can see me doing that in it. As far as the primer goes, I used the Vallejo's primer, and I see a lot of discussion going on in a lot of different places about what primer what people use. And I have not used a lot of different primers, but I have got kind of a handle on how to use this particular primer. So I thought I'd share with you how I do it, and maybe that will help others out there who are looking for a way to get their models primed up, and you know why it does or doesn't work if they choose to use it. So what I use is a Badger Patriot 105 airbrush. This is one of the airbrushes I own. This is the workhorse. This is the one that pretty much does everything here in my shop. So, and I love this airbrush. So this airbrush, what I do is I take thinner at a 25% thinner, 75% primer. I load it directly into the cup, so you know we're counting drops as we're putting it in. I start with the thinner, so that the first thing going into the cup is the thinner. and then I add in the primer, and then using an old brush I mix it in the paint cup here. Spray a little bit. I spray at 20 psi. I hold it a good maybe 20 inches away, 15 inches away, somewhere in there, and just start with a light coat, go all the way over the model, and then keep going back around and around. You know, I have a turntable in my portable spray booth, which I'm going to do a separate video on all of this at some point with this new camera. Once I get a tripod set up, I'll be able to do things from a distance and be able to show you an entire bench top rather than just the view you're seeing here now. So last but not least, with the primer, one last thing to talk about here is the fact that this is a polyurethane acrylic primer. This is different than what you're getting in the paint bottle for the acrylic paint. This needs time to set up. The other problem that I see people having is that they go ahead and start painting or applying decals or any number of things, masking. I've seen videos with people who had problems masking this stuff. You have to let this primer, and probably any primer you're out there that you're going to use, you're going to want to give it 24 hours to set up, at least a day, at least overnight. So normally what I do is if I intend on painting on Saturday or working on projects on Saturday, I try to prime the stuff that I'm going to do Thursday or Friday. This way when I go to, I can pick it up out of my spray booth and it's good to go. So that being said, we'll move on to the paints. So hang on one second and we'll go through that next. Thanks. Okay, so the colors that I used for it's actually for the ship as well as for the base that it's sitting on. I started out looking at just off-white, and I thought with the weathering that would bring the tone down enough. But I realized it was a little too stark, so I added a little bit of white gray and then just a touch of light gray. Unfortunately, I did not write down the measurements there, so it's number of drops to number of drops I really don't have for you. But that's kind of the three colors that I blended, because to me, you know, spacecraft tends to have a little bit of just a hint of like a blue-gray to it, maybe, that I always seem to see in these ships. Same thing with the surface of the Death Star. If you're building it for a a display shelf, you're going to want to not use the same color as the X-wing, but it is sort of an off-white or a whitish gray or a grayish white. So by blending these colors together, I was able to create both the base color and the ship color, and I think it worked out pretty well for the way it came out. Now for, here, let me pull the ship back into view here real quick. For the colors here, what appears to be yellow or gold, that I just used yellow ochre. That's all I did. This is pure yellow ochre, and then with the oil paint, giving it a bit of weathering, I darkened it out. The blue here was actually a bit of somber gray along with a bit of pale blue gray, and I just kind of blended that out to give us the canopy color here, the front here, and the back here. R2 is actually chrome, Vallejo Modeler chrome, along with Prussian blue, Vallejo model color Prussian blue. So that's how I achieved those colors. The front of the engines here I did in oily steel with a little bit of natural steel highlighting it. The back of them, to give it a little bit of a different effect, I tried the dull aluminum, which is the acrylic metal color for airbrush from Vallejo. I just painted it on. As far as brushes go, I used actually Army Painter brushes for the brushwork that needed to be done here for everything that I did here, including Luke. Now Luke, I did use a for his flight suit. I used Games Workshop. It's an orange from the old Games Workshop. I could not find it while I was shooting this, so I put it somewhere and I don't know where I put it. So, but it's just a straight out of the bottle orange. I didn't mix or blend anything. I did weather him down a little bit with a bit of brown wash from Games Workshop as well. So that's what I did as far as the acrylics go. And then for oils, let me just move this out of the way real quick. A while back at Hobby Lobby, I picked up this set of oil paints. It was only $12.99, and it gives you a nice range of colors here. This is a Master Touch set of oils, and the dark, the black here, is actually it's called Ivory Black. So it's not a stark, harsh black color or even a matte color. It's got a bit of a grayish tone to it, which gives a nice effect. I was actually looking to use MIG's Starship Filth on this, and they were out of it at the time I went to build it. I believe they've got it back in stock now, but I just wanted to show you this. This is with the 40% off. It was like $6, you know, because if you're familiar with Hobby Lobby here in the States, Hobby Lobby will give you a discount 40% every Friday. So, you know, I try to get in there as often as possible to buy whatever I can use. But this range of colors is very nice. I recommend this because you can pretty much mix. You have your solid foundation colors. It gives you a nice set of browns, black, white, yellow ochre. The crimson is good. So you can blend these colors into pretty much anything you need as far as what we use for weathering and models. I'm also planning on using these as well for painting figures as I study more about the color wheel and how to mix and use oils. I used a odorless turpenoid to cut this with. You can also use mineral spirits as well. And you want to just blend that down to the consistency of like a 2% milk. Depending on how runny you want to make it, you know, it's up to you. You do have to clear coat the ship or the model before you go ahead and put on an oil wash. Now you can use a gloss varnish, or you can go ahead and use Future, which is what I used. I used a Pledge. Here, hang on one second, I'll show you. What I used was this. This is in the States. This is the same product that was known as Future Floor Wax. This is an acrylic finish to it, which is what you're looking for. I sprayed this through the airbrush over the model. I give it a couple of good 3 coats, and you're good to go. And then when you're done, you can use, if you don't want the shine that comes through, you can go ahead and hit it with like Tester's Dull Coat to give you a matte finish. So that being said, the only other thing that I really wanted to show you was, like we were talking about earlier, this is R2. This is incredibly small. This is what's sitting here in the back of the ship. So this is this figure that's here. I actually put him down in there. He goes in there, these legs move, believe it or not. And he is fully detailed. I mean, he is so, just to give you an idea, that's my thumbnail. That's a really small figure. And so what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to take this, I'm going to paint this one and just put it over here on my desktop with all my little things I have over here in front of my computer. So along with that is the pilot figure that's standing. You know, I'm going to find a small base or make a base up for him. Now, let me see how well the zoom on this camera works, but I'll try to zoom in on that for you so you can see the detail in this figure, because I'm very impressed with this. This is you know, I'm thinking you can pick that, the camera will pick that up. He's got all the detail there. I mean, it's literally all there at this scale. So it's very impressive. Like I said, Bandy did a really, really, really nice job with this. Same thing here. Here's your pilot. Let me see if I can bring that into focus. There you go. If you can see the detail there, you get everything. All the detail of his flight suit. Just really awesome. Of course, you need a microscope to paint and a nose hair on a toothpick to paint this with, but I thought it was pretty neat. So, that being said, this is my first video with the new camcorder. Of course, we're not doing any real heavy-handed editing here or editing of my audio. I'm used to doing everything with a snowball microphone and, you know, going over and over again until it sounds kind of normal. But most of the time I sound like an android or something when I'm talking because, you know, I'm trying to read from a card of what I wrote up. And this time we're just doing it off the top of our head. So, that being said, that's it for our Red 5. I promise to those of you who are watching that the next thing you will see on this channel will be Mars related. We will begin M4 upon the uploading of this video. I'm probably going to start, since I really haven't done anything with miniatures, apart from Batman, which was more of our whip project than it was of an actual build-up of a gaming system. I'm going to work first on the Mark II and then the Mark III tanks, and then of course the build-up of the Martian tripods. So you'll be seeing that next here on the channel. I hope this helped. I hope this helps generate interest in the hobby of what we do. If you have questions or comments or questions about the kit or anything that you're seeing here or anything that you see on the channel, please don't hesitate to ask. I will answer all comments. You can also go over to our website at whalosworkshop.com. We have articles, some of which are separate and different from what's here on the channel. Some of them just kind of support what we've done here on the channel, give you more detail. Again, I'm just interested in helping encourage the hobby itself. I believe this is an art form. When you see these things done well, they are as breathtaking to me as any work of art you could see in an art gallery. I have seen some truly, truly gifted artists painting miniatures and figures and putting together models and dioramas that are just absolutely spectacular. You're just blown away by the level of skill and you know, time that they spend and care that they put into them. It really makes you want to do more and more. I call it in for life. You know, there's a difference between somebody who does it just for the sake of putting one or two together, and then there's guys like me who are trying to pick up all the information they can get as fast as they can get it and want to build pretty much every model out there that's offered. So that being said, please remember to like, subscribe, comment, visit us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, and with that, this is Red 5. And there you go. Thank you for watching.